So the U.S. military has officially announced that we already have special forces units on the ground in Israel. Now, these are not the Marines that I reported to you all about that we're sending to Israel as we speak. These are not the other U.S. soldiers that we're sending to the Middle East. This is something entirely separate. We had no idea that these special forces units were already on the ground in Israel. Some of them have already been there before the attack on October 7th. But here's the funny part. Once again, they're trying to sugarcoat things. They're saying, don't worry, these special forces units, they're not there to fight in the war. They're not there to help invade Gaza. They're not there for combat purposes. No, these special forces units are on the ground in Israel to help rescue the hostages. Now use your noodle for 2 seconds. How does that sound? Oh, these special forces units, they're not here to fight in the war. They're here to rescue the hostages that are being held in Gaza by Hamas. So what does that sound like to you? If these special forces units were to try to rescue these hostages, wouldn't they have to go into Gaza? Wouldn't they have to fight Hamas? And technically, wouldn't that make us part of this war? Would this not make us part of the invasion? Think about it, folks. Think about it. Do you think that these special forces units are going to walk into Gaza? They're going to march into Gaza as bombs go off all around them, tanks are shooting, freaking suicide drones are flying in the sky, crashing around them, and they're all going to walk into Gaza unscathed. Not a single fragment of anything will so much as touch their skin. They'll walk right into Gaza down this perfect path that they've set out a red carpet on. And they will walk right into the Hamas headquarters that's deep beneath the ground. You know, underneath this intricate tunnel system that they have under Gaza. They'll walk through the tunnels and they'll gather the hostages and walk right out. No fight, no nothing. Hamas will just welcome them on in. Come on, U.S. Special Forces. Here's the hostages. Sorry about that. That's not how this works. If Special Forces units are on the ground to try to rescue these hostages, they're going to have to fight. You're going into an area that's being bombarded, that is infested with people who want you dead. Obviously, they're going to have to join the fight. Now, if I was a hostage in Gaza, I would be happy that, America, at least it seems like America's trying to do something. But you really have to ask yourself, is this really about the hostages? Are you going to use the hostages as an excuse to kind of roll right into Gaza as well? What's really happening here? Because you can get away with telling dumb people dumb things all the time, but you can't sit here and convince people like me. You can't sit here and convince people that are in my audience that you're sending special forces units into Gaza to get these hostages, but they're not part of the battle. There's not going to be any fighting. Don't worry. It's not how this works. So, I mean, they've already kept it on the hush-hush that these units are over there. So if something happens to these people, I don't know if we'll ever find out. It's like, I think one of two things would happen. Either they would cover it up and we never know that we got soldiers dying in Gaza, or they'll blow the situation up and they'll use it as, the excuse to just go ham, to go even further with whatever their agenda is. So that's something I think we should keep an eye on. Because the fact that they already have these special forces units over there just waiting for something to pop off, and the fact that they're trying to pretend like they're going to be able to peacefully walk into Gaza and rescue hostages, it just, it sounds idiotic. Obviously we know that's not true, right? But as all of this is going on, for the past few days, there's been this talk about this big speech that's about to happen. The leader of Hezbollah, he's about to give a big speech tomorrow. And they've been hyping up this speech all week with like little previews. You would think it's like previews leading up to a big sporting event, or previews leading up to a big blockbuster movie. They're releasing literal teaser trailers of this speech that's about to happen. It's supposedly going to be the biggest speech in the history of Lebanon that's going to change the history of the Middle East forever. So what everyone is basically expecting to happen tomorrow is that the leader of Hezbollah is going to officially declare war on Israel, and then that will have a domino effect on other groups throughout the region, and there's already been a domino effect at play here. But once Hezbollah declares war, we also know that there's several groups in Iraq and other places who've kind of been waiting to see what Hezbollah is going to do before they make their moves. And it seems as if tomorrow there's a big possibility that war is officially declared and that there's going to be a lot of rockets headed towards Israel from various places in the Middle East. Everyone is claiming that they're going to ramp things up here in the next few days going into the weekend. All of these little militant groups, they're claiming that the attacks are going to get worse. And if that's the case, then Israel's response is going to be even worse. And then the U.S., they're going to come in and do what they're going to do as well. So tomorrow we'll find out what the big deal is, what all the hype is about. But another thing that's going on that I find interesting is that while all of this talk is going on about this big speech, the Wagner Group out of Russia, you might remember the leader of the Wagner Group, he was killed in a plane accident recently. In reality, Putin had him blown out the sky because the dude tried to throw a coup in Russia. I would say maybe about a year ago or some months ago. If you've been following up with the war between Russia and Ukraine, then you probably already know about this. But the Wagner Group has now announced that they're going to be providing arms to Hezbollah. And they're sending all types of equipment, maybe even soldiers, because the Wagner Group, it's not the official military of Russia, but it's like this, I can't even call it a little militia. It's a big militia. And, they send fighters all over the world. It's kind of Russia's little proxy army. They have them go fight, battles in Africa and throughout the Middle East and random places like that. So the Wagner Group has announced that they're going to be helping Hezbollah. I don't know if it's just going to be with equipment or they'll maybe send fighters, but this is the first sign of Russia kind of getting involved in the equation here. When you think of the Wagner Group, you have to think of Russia as well. And, now I don't know what's been going on in the Wagner Group since their leader got blown out of the sky. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm thinking that maybe there's a possibility that Putin, even though I would think they would be against Putin for what happened to their leader, maybe now Putin has more influence over them. I'm not so sure about how that's working out. Things are really interesting there, and things have been kind of hectic since that dude got blown out of the sky. But this is, signs of, okay, now Russia's getting involved. Not directly. It may be through one of their little proxy militia groups, but Russia's entering into the equation. And they kind of already have in Syria, but it's getting serious, folks. Who knows what this announcement will be tomorrow? I'm pretty sure it's going to be, a declaration of war. And then from there on out, we're going to watch more dominoes fall. And, it's just going to lead to an even bigger war that's going to rage throughout multiple countries throughout the Middle East and possibly spill over into other places. And you have to understand that a lot of our enemies and a lot of the enemies of Israel, and when I say our enemies, I don't mean like personally, I mean enemies of the United States, they've had people pouring into our country for years now. So don't think that Hamas and Hezbollah and these groups that are over there in the Middle East, don't think that they don't have the potential to reach us here at home. They don't have the nuclear bombs that they're going to send flying. They don't have the fighter jets and the aircraft carriers. But they got people who are dedicated to their cause, who are right here in our country, surrounding us every day, sleeper cells, and who knows what type of attacks we may be facing in our own country because of what's going on over there in the Middle East. But for now, I want to know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you're feeling generous, you could drop a super thanks, or you can support my channel for free by sharing this video, hitting that like button, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, and as always, I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.